Welcome to the Conquering Chronic Illness Show. I'm your host, Daphne Wiswell, the chronic illness coach. And each week, I'm going to be bringing you stories, strategies, and sparks of hope that I pray will encourage you on your journey through life as a conqueror. If illness, mindsets, or other obstacles have held you back from living the life you desire, and you've been looking for real hope, real strategy, and real connection, then you've come to the right place. I'm so glad you're here. Well, hey there. It is summertime, and I am so excited to talk to you today about travel. I'm going to be sharing some tips with you on how to make your travel a more enjoyable experience when you're dealing with a chronic or autoimmune condition, something that probably requires some special medications, maybe some supplements. You might have some dietary restrictions. So I'm just going to be sharing with you some things that we've learned over the years through what do you call it? The school of hard knocks. Like, if nobody else has to go through this because I'm sharing these stories and strategies with you, then it's going to be good for you. Wasn't good for me. We learned a lot of things the hard way, but I'm happy to share our hard learned lessons with you so that maybe you don't have to struggle through the same scenarios. So, one of the things that used to happen early on after my son was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes is that I would not be as prepared as I needed to be with his supplies. So, we would think, okay, we're going to go to town for a week. We need to pack a week's worth of insulin and pump site changes, syringes, all those kinds of things, right? And if you're not diabetic, you can keep listening. I'm going to have some tips and strategies for some other types of things, but um for him it was like, okay, well, we're going to pack a week's worth of stuff, and then we would get to the hotel and there wouldn't be a refrigerator, or he would drop a vial of insulin on the concrete outside, or whatever it might be. And so then a week's worth of supplies suddenly wasn't enough because we weren't at home and we couldn't just go grab what we needed out of the fridge or the closet. And so it presented some really stressful challenges because then it's like, okay, well, is the pharmacy open over here? How are we going to make sure that he gets what he needs so that we can actually enjoy our trip? It creates a lot of stress in a time where you're trying to relax. And so this episode is intended to help you alleviate some stress so that when you go on vacation, when you make your travel plans, you actually get to go and relax and enjoy and have everything that you need and not be stressed about stuff. So, first tip is to pack 2 to 3 times what you need to. If you have a special medication or equipment, or you take supplements or whatever, pack 3 times as much as you need to. And it seems a little excessive, but trust me, once you've gone through what I just described, 1 or 2 or 3 or more times, you will learn that it's not fun. It's better to have maybe a suitcase or a small bag dedicated just to your medical supplies, equipment, supplements, and all that, rather than leave home without enough. It's not fun to try and find a pharmacy that's open at 10 o'clock at night when you're in an unknown area. So pack more than you think you're going to need. And if one of the problems that I remember us running into was, I'd be like, okay, I want to pack extra this time. And so I'd call to get a refill or whatever. And our insurance would say, oh, you're not due for a refill yet. So you have to wait until XYZ date, right? Insurance companies want to wait until, right before you're going to run out. And so I would say to them, well, we're going on vacation. And so we're not going to be home. How do I get it in advance? And a lot of insurance companies have I don't know if it's called a provision, a clause, or what, but to where if you're going on vacation, you can go ahead and either fill your full prescription early, or you can set it up to where they'll give you a certain amount to take with you on vacation. So every company is probably going to do it a little bit differently, but let them know that you have travel plans when you plan to travel. And the pharmacist will typically use that information to put whatever they need to into their system so that your insurance will process it and cover what you need to go enjoy your time. Another thing is to find out if your insurance has an emergency clause. So I said in the beginning that we had an episode once where insulin got dropped and the vial broke, and it was all that we had. And you've got to have insulin to live. So it wasn't like, oh, we'll wait till we get home. You have to have it immediately. And I found out then that our insurance had a clause where if there was some kind of an emergency or something destroyed the prescription or a bag got stolen that had the medication in it, then our insurance would cover it that time. And I think at that point, we had an insurance company that they would allow for that twice a year. So you can't like be having these emergencies all the time, but they had special exceptions. So know whether your insurance company has those kinds of provisions in your plan. Another thing is that if your medication needs to be refrigerated and you go to a hotel that doesn't have a refrigerator, then a lot of times they will bring one to your room. So there's not like a law that I'm aware of that says that they have to do that. But if you're really kind and if you ask very nicely, and if you're in a pretty decent place, then most places will bring you what you need. So if you let them know, I have this medication or this special supplement or whatever it might be that really needs to stay cool, then they'll bring a refrigerator to your room. They want to make sure that your stay is pleasant and that you tell people nice things about them, right? They're a business and that's how they get more business. And so don't be afraid to ask for what you need if it's not there when you get there. Another tip is to pack. My daughter actually said, make sure you tell them this, mom, to pack things that you'll need. Like if you have a condition where you are tempted to there be a flare, or maybe if you're sitting in a car for a long time or on an airplane for a long time, then your joints get inflamed or whatever might be your case. She said, tell them to pack heating pads and ice packs and to plan for rest. And so you want to give yourself time before your trip and after your trip. So if you have a week-long vacation, schedule a day before and a day or two after for you to just get home, decompress, rest. A lot of times travel can be very stressful on the body, even if it's fun. And so you want to make sure that you include in your travel plans extra time for you to recover from that travel. She also said to pack she has like knee braces, elbow braces, different things that she'll take so that if certain joints get more affected during travel, then she has those things to support her so she can have a good time. Another tip that she said that I should share with you guys is a lot of times this is really great for like kids, she's 20 years old and wants to be normal and is normal, but has these special conditions, right? And so if she goes to a theme park for the day, which isn't, I guess, travel, but it's like a fun day with her friends, or if she goes to do anything out of her ordinary routine, then it can be pretty difficult. But one of the things that she's learned is that she knows her body and she knows how to listen to her body. And so hopefully you do too. But make sure you let people know if you need to take a break. So if there's a lot of walking or climbing or car riding or anything involved and you need to take a break, let the people that you're traveling with know, hey, I can't go at this pace, or can we stop for 10 minutes or whatever it is that you're feeling like you need, because it's just going to make your time more enjoyable and probably theirs too. I mean, nobody wants you to be hurting on day 2 or day 3 so bad that you can't go out and do the things that you plan to do. So let people know when you need to take a break. Okay. Another tip is to pack your snacks. Our family has been through so many different seasons and cycles of different dietary restrictions. There have been seasons of no gluten, no dairy. Right now we're doing no sugar. There's just no grains, all kinds of different things, right? And so have a plan for packing your own food. And even if you're traveling by air, you can pack food. You can't always pack liquids. Now, there are certain exceptions, like for my son with his insulin, and we've been able to take juice on airplanes. You can actually call TSA Cares and get an agent to meet you at security, and they'll take all your information up front. And it's super helpful. We haven't ever used it. I think it's a new thing since the last time my son flew with us, but I've heard really great things about TSA Cares and how they want to help you get through security smoothly and make sure that it's not an embarrassing process. We have traveled before where my son wears an insulin pump, and when the TSA agents saw the device on him, they're like, oh, you have to take that off. You can't go through the scanner, but all these things. And it's like, well, actually he can't take that off. Like that's his life support. And so he needs to leave it on. And if you have to scan him or whatever you need to do. And some agents are super friendly and some are not. But when you call TSA Cares and work with them in advance of your travel plans, then they're going to help you get through security smoothly without embarrassment. Like I said, we've never used it ourselves, but I've heard really great things about it from other parents and families I know who deal with these kinds of things. And so it's a great tip from them. Okay, so pack your snacks. So you can take, if when we're going somewhere in a car on a long car ride, we always have a cooler because we know what we like to eat and we know what our restrictions are. And we know how to read labels and all those kinds of things. So we just pack our favorite snacks. It makes it super convenient. It also makes it possible for you to get further faster, I guess, because you're not having to stop for these things and figure out like, well, is that going to be gluten free or is that restaurant really dairy free or whatever? So we like having a cooler with our snacks. We like asking hotels for refrigerators because we do honestly need them for medications, but then we're all able to put our snacks in there. So super convenient. It's also a really good idea to familiarize yourself with restaurants in the area that you're visiting. And a lot of times I've even called ahead and spoken to management and asked them different questions about their nutritional guidelines. Do they have a separate space in the kitchen to prepare foods that are gluten-free, all kinds of different things. So get familiar with the restaurants in the area, speak to the managers, let them know that you're coming. We've gone into restaurants before without making plans in advance, and it's very obvious to them, or it's very obvious to us that they're not really as accommodating as places can be because they seem annoyed with your questions, or they don't know the answer to your questions, or they don't want to bother the management to give you the answers to your questions. And then there are other places that are incredibly accommodating, want to be of great service to you, want to make sure that your dining experience is a safe and pleasant one. And so a lot of times you can find that out just by making a phone call in advance and speaking to someone and asking your questions. Makes the trip a lot more pleasant when you know where you're going and you know what to expect. Okay. Another important point. If you're going to be traveling by car and someone that you're traveling with has a serious medical condition, it's so important that, or if you're flying, going in an airplane, any way that you're traveling, has some sort of something on their body identifying their medical condition and what their need is. This is a friend of mine and I were talking about this just the other day. She is an emergency worker getting certified with her EMT. She's been a volunteer firefighter for a really long time. And, we talk about this stuff a lot because emergency workers don't know what they don't know. We have to have things that are showing them what we have going on. I mean, you never know when you're going to get into an accident or, something unexpected is going to happen. And, we've always thought like, well, we'll just tell them, well, what if you're not conscious? Worst case scenario. What if you're not conscious? You want the emergency workers who are attending to your needs to know that you have XYZ condition, that you're insulin dependent, that you use an EpiPen or whatever the case might be. So have something on your body, on your seatbelt, somewhere, put a card in your wallet, which, if it's not in your pocket, that doesn't do a lot of good because purses and things fly around when there's an accident. And so just something to let emergency workers know that you've got something going on so that they can properly care for you. And there are some companies that have some really cute ones for kids. There's more sophisticated ones for adults. So many great places that you can find this stuff now where it actually looks like jewelry. And so do a little research, find something that fits with your style, doesn't stand out too much as an ID bracelet, and make sure that you wear that. It's really important. My final tip is be prepared to be flexible. I do not recommend having an itinerary that is so jam-packed that if something goes sideways, you're missing out on an excursion or whatever it might be that you have planned. So try to make plans. You want to have fun. You want to have excursions. You want to have things planned. At least I do. I like to have things planned. But also, when you get to the top of Pikes Peak, and your kid is, passing out and vomiting and you got to fix blood sugar and all those kinds of things, your day kind of doesn't go the way that you expected. And so if you have things planned minute by minute, then it makes more stress. It causes more stress for you to think like, okay, well, we had this happen. And so now we missed this, and then we're going to miss that. And it just puts the whole trip off. Right. So I learned from my husband many, many years ago. I used to like plan our vacations to the T, like, okay, at this day, at this time, we're going to do this, and we're going to go to this event, and then we're going to go to this show, and then we're going to have dinner at this time. And I had everything planned out. And one year, I can't remember which year it was or which vacation it was, but I remember him looking at me before and saying, like, can we just not have a schedule so that we can really relax and enjoy ourselves? And that didn't mean that we weren't going to go to shows or plan certain events or tours or whatever it might be. It just meant that we weren't going to probably book our tickets in advance for certain things. And I know some things you have to do that, but allow for a lot of flexibility on the days that you have certain things booked. Make lots of space, make lots of room for flares, emergencies, mishaps, whatever it might be, because it makes for a more pleasant experience for everyone involved if you're not stressing and rushing to get to the next thing. So, I hope that these tips help you enjoy your summer travel plans. And if you have any questions about specific things that you can do with your insurance, with hotel accommodations, with traveling by air, or whatever it might be, then I would love to hear from you. So get in touch with me through my website at thechronicillnesscoach.co, or join me in the Conqueror community. Thank you for listening to the Conquering Chronic Illness Show. I bless you to know that you are more than a conqueror. And if you'd like to get around other women who are on a journey to developing that identity for themselves, that identity of conqueror, then you're invited to join me in my totally free Facebook group called The Conqueror Community. It's a place where you can connect with like-minded conquerors, women who are on a journey of conquering all the things that are threatening to stand in the way of the abundant life Jesus promised them. When you gather in a community of women who are encouraging and uplifting and supportive and full of hope and their own testimonies of conquering, then it fuels your faith to keep going on your own journey. So I hope that I'll see you there.